Welcome to Spring Cottage. This is a property that I bought for £259,000, spent £34,000 on and revalue back up at 380. So let's take a look at what I did to add the value on and also to save on costs. So from the outside, first and foremost, we painted the property. It was looking a bit tired before, so that curb appeal has now changed drastically. And now, funny story, not that funny for me, the painter actually let me down last minute, and so I ended up having to get up a ladder myself, bringing out my old firefighter days and do a bit of the painting, hire a paint sprayer, which by the way got that done really quickly, and get the job done. Now let's take a look inside and see what else has been done. The first thing you'll probably notice when you come into this property is that it's big. There's so much space. So we've got this nice big lounge, and what I've done is kept it super simple, added a little bit of colour on the walls, didn't go too crazy, but we've put in new light fittings, painted the doors and installed new doors, and then put flooring down. But one key thing about the flooring that we put in here, because I'm planning to keep the property, I wanted A, hard wearing, but because I wanted to add value to it, B, good value. So what we've used is vinyl flooring in here. And if you look at that vinyl flooring, it gives a really nice effect, but it lasts long term, it's super easy to clean, and it's really cost effective to lay down, as long as you've got nice level floors. So that vinyl flooring was good. We also added a bit of paneling to the walls to add a bit of effect into this particular wall. Now MDF paneling, super simple to fit, super cheap to fit. I say that as though I fitted it myself, but from what I've seen, it's super simple to fit and super cheap to fit, but can add a bit of effect and a bit of pizzazz into a room as well. Throughout the property, just put blinds and curtains just to obviously close up the space. And also needed to replace the radiators. So we put in these double panel radiators, which allows for a better heating within the property. Now, when you're looking at what size of radiator to get inside your property, the key thing you need to look at is the BTUs. Now, the BTUs are the number or the level of heat that's being radiated, the units of heat that's being radiated by the particular radiator. Now, by taking the dimensions of the room, you should be able to calculate the correct size of radiator for the room. You don't want a radiator that's way too big so that people are cooking in a sauna in one room and really cold in another. Equally, you don't want a radiator that's too small and doesn't have the capacity to heat the room that you're in. So make sure you get the right radiators for that particular room. Now, this is an interesting little space. This particular space was originally a bathroom. Now, it was an elderly person who was living in the property, so they needed a ground floor bathroom, but it was actually not much practical use. So I decided to remove the bathroom. But when I removed the bathroom, I figured that one day someone, maybe myself, might want to change this back into a bathroom. So what we've done is we've just left the pipework behind here. So if we ever wanted to, we could recover the pipework and very easily convert this back into a bathroom. But now it works well as a little storage space or a little study or something else, depending on who takes the property. Could be a playroom for a very small child. And you've got a dining space here. Don't be confused by the fact that we've got a sofa that's being stored in here for the time being. But in this dining space, again, very similar. This time put feature wallpaper on one wall just to add it, break up the wall a little bit. Now you can see we don't have the pictures up or anything like that, but when it's decorated, this place looks absolutely fantastic now. So my rule on a refurb that's really key to remember is I want to do the minimum work for the maximum return. What I don't want to do is go away personally and start building massive extensions or replacing roofs or things that are going to cost on time, that are really going to cost on money. I don't want things that are going to hold me up and potentially open a can of worms and more cost. What I want are things like this where usually an older person's been living in the property. They're great for refurbishment properties where they're a little bit tired and they just need some TLC to bring them up to life. Now, personally, if I don't have to do a rewire, great, because something like a rewire doesn't add a drastic amount of value on. So talking about that maximum return. So if it's got good electrics and a good boiler, then I'm really just changing the look and appearance of the property, which can save a hell of a lot of money. In fact, let's go and look at the kitchen. Kitchens are one of my favourite, lovely. And let's talk about how we saved in here. So this particular kitchen came from Howdens. Now, when you go to Howdens, when you go to Magnet, when you go to these different suppliers, what you want to do is get yourself a trade account set up. Now, you can go and get an LNPG card. An LNPG card is the Landlord National Purchasing Group, and that card is going to enable you to go to different suppliers and get discounts. So, for example, if you get a kitchen from Magnet via LNPG, you can get 60%, 70% discounts on their listed price. So do not, whatever you do, go in and just pay the same price that they're going to charge Mr. and Mrs. Jones for their kitchen at home. This particular kitchen from Howdens was discounted at around 50%. I've gone for a solid wood. I'm a big fan of solid wood worktops because that can then be sanded down and re-oiled at some point to restore it. So from a long-term perspective is also good. Now, not everything goes smoothly. So this particular kitchen, after it was fitted, it moved a little bit. So this side was fitted in, and one day I came and the drawers were struggling to open, and I didn't know what the problem was, and I called back the guy that fitted the kitchen, and he came to the conclusion that it must have sort of squeezed in a bit or expanded after he'd installed it. So they came back, readjusted it, put it back in, and look, just being transparent, not everything's going to run super smooth. But remember, if you've used a tradesperson to install something, then they also have a legal responsibility to sort that out. So don't panic and don't think that you're going to have to now shell out a lot of cash. And if they do resist, because a lot of people are really busy with the next bit of business that they're doing, then politely and gently remind them of their legal obligation to carry that out, because you do have a right to have these things carried out correctly. Which leads me on actually to another important legal point. When you're getting somebody to provide you with an estimate or a quote, make sure you know the difference between those two things, because they are entirely different. Now, an estimate is a contractor coming around and saying, well, based on what I can see, it's going to be somewhere in the region of ... But on the day, if you then ask them to install something or to carry out some work for you, it could be any amount. They haven't committed to an amount. Now, a quote, by definition, is them saying this is how much it's going to cost. So provided you don't change the scope of the work that they're carrying out, they cannot charge you more. A quote is a legal obligation. And I've had this in the past. I had it with a plumber that came around to carry out some work. He quoted, I think at the time, let's say for example, it was 250 quid. He carried out the work and then he went, oh, it's 300 quid. No, no, it's not, because you provided me with a quote. And since you provided me with a quote, you have a legal obligation to carry out the work at the price specified, as I have not added any extra work on to what I've asked you to do. Very quickly, he retracted and said, okay, 250 quid, sent me a new invoice, job done. But know your legal rights there, because and look, I'm not holding it against the tradesperson. I think he didn't actually realise that he carried out a legally binding agreement there. So anyway, onto this kitchen. When you're getting appliances, these are the bits that I don't want you to get from your Howdens, your Magnets, places like that, because they can't discount them in the same way that they can discount this. So you're better off buying those separately, shopping around, finding yourself some deals. I mean, as you look around here, all I see in this kitchen is savings. So this particular tap, for example, get that from a main supplier, you're paying 200-300 quid. Go to eBay or another reputable bathroom site who's a wholesaler online, and this is going to cost you about 50 or 60 quid. So again, you're saving massively by getting these little things like appliances and taps separately. This particular sink, I actually bought that on eBay. So these sinks can be about 300 quid. It's a Belfast sink. This one, I looked on eBay, someone was selling one brand new that they decided not to fit for 50 quid. So that was 50 quid again, another couple hundred quid saved. So there's so much money potentially to be saved. Come on, let's take a look upstairs then. Right, so up here, I've decided to put carpet down throughout the whole property. Now, I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. So hard flooring at the bottom, carpet upstairs. This room, believe it or not, wasn't exactly a room. So what you had was, you had a storage cupboard here, which was completely dead space, completely wasted. And you had a bathroom here, which didn't feel like the best use of space either. So I said to the project manager, what I want to do is open this up and turn this into a bedroom. You know what he said to me? You can't do that, it doesn't make any sense. But actually, when I explained to him how I wanted to do it, it meant we had to install an extra step. It made perfect sense, and now we've got a reasonable sized bedroom for one of the bedrooms in the property here. But let's take a look at where we put the actual bathroom. So this is where the bathroom is. Now this was previously a bedroom. Now the reason that I moved this into becoming a bathroom was because this was a very small box room bedroom, and so it made much more logical sense to me to put the bedroom there, where we just saw, and the bathroom here, and it wasn't actually that tricky. One of the things you got to think about when you're moving bathrooms or installing bathrooms is where's the pipework. Now because the other bathroom was just to the other side here, all of the pipework that we needed was in the vicinity and was quite easy to access and quite easy to get to. Another thing that we did in this particular property is we actually boosted the energy performance rating. I'll talk to you about how we did that. This again is one of the bedrooms, added an ensuite into here by the way, and so you can see this wasn't previously here. Now adding an ensuite shouldn't cost too much money. Now this one probably cost, I think it was $3,500 for the entire install. That includes the stud walls, the stuff that went into the bathroom, and the plumber installing it. Now, if you go to a firm that installs bathrooms and pay them a set price for the entire bathroom, you might end up paying a small fortune. However, if you source the materials independently and individually, and then ask someone to charge you a day rate to fit those, and ask somebody to charge you a day rate to fit the walls, and you monitor how many days they're taking to do that, you obviously need that to be monitored, you can save a lot of money. So what I'm saying is, be wary of just going to a firm and getting a price and them saying, oh yeah, it's 10 grand for the bathroom. If you're a developer, if you're an investor, then saving is equivalent to earning. So it's really important to make sure we do that. You can have a quick look at the ensuite and then I'll tell you about the EPC. So, EPC for this particular property is now an EPC level C, which is useful for the long term because of course different regulations and changes might mean that that's going to become pretty essential. Now, what I did with the EPC was I actually looked at the EPC that I had done, and he rated it a D. And when I looked at the EPC that I had done, I noted that he hadn't actually done it correctly. Now this didn't go down incredibly well when I pulled the EPC assessor and I said, you've actually missed the fact that this has got cavity walls. And he said to me, well, I don't believe it does have cavity walls. I said, well, it does have cavity walls and I'm happy to prove it. So I sent him over some pictures of the cavity walls because at the time we were drilling through bathroom fans and so on. And then he still didn't believe me. He must have been maybe blagged by somebody in the past. So he came back to the property and he went, no, it's probably just on one half. Then he checked the other half and he was like, okay, you're right, it's got cavity walls, and increased the rating to an EPC level C. The point that I'm making here is don't just take on face value what they say. Make sure you double check these assessments. Make sure you're overseeing what everyone's doing, because things like an EPC rating between a D and a C could be a critical difference later on down the line. It didn't cost me a penny to do it. It just was a bit of back and forth, polite communication with the assessor and politely letting him know that he was wrong and I was right. I'm just kidding, but you did need to sort that. The final point, I guess, that's probably worth mentioning is this particular refurb. So again, £34,776 was the exact amount. This was managed from afar. So I live in sunny Bromley, which is about a 4-hour drive from where this particular property is situated up in Derbyshire. Now this property, I'm not going to be driving 4 hours every day to come and check in on the boys. So what I did was got myself a project manager. So that refurb fee includes the project management fee. Now the way it works with a project manager is I pay 10% of the total refurb cost. We agree what that cost is going to be up front. So we create what we call a schedule of works, and then he works to that schedule of works. Now that project manager arranges the tradespeople, arranges the materials, and makes sure that the job runs as according to the project plan. Now what that means is I don't have to worry about it. Every day, at the end of the day, I would get a video update on what's been happening at the property, and then I could just put my feet up, relax, or realistically probably do some other work or something else. Anyway, that's a quick rundown on this particular property. I hope you've enjoyed having a look inside and having a look at what's done. I just realised I forgot one bedroom, so I feel incomplete if I don't show you the other bedroom in this particular property. And there you go, final bedroom. Let's put a light on. Ta-da! Final bedroom, and that's the property complete. But that's to give you an idea of how we did that minimum amount of work, maximum amount of return. I mean, it's a £34,000 spend. Took the property from 259 up to 380. I decided to raise a mortgage and keep the property because my strategy at the minute is to build, grow, and I don't just want cash flow, but I want capital appreciation as well. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and remember, if you like this sort of content, then make sure you like and subscribe so you can see more property renovations, property information, property tools and tips about legislation, taxation, and regulation. See you soon.